I know this is gonna sound crazy, but we need to love them at their worst. Coming up. Welcome back. My name is Isaac, and this is Motivation Inspired. If you're checking this channel out for the very first time, make sure you join me on my journey by hitting the subscribe button down below. Next to it, there's a notification bell. I want you to click on that so you can have up-to-date videos as I regularly post them, and that way you're not left in the dark. Now, let's talk about love them at their worst. Now, you're probably thinking about people that you're dealing with on a regular basis and don't know how to love them at their worst. As a matter of fact, we stay away from people like that, right? I'm not going to sit here and say I don't. Sometimes I do, okay? Because we're human. So I got 6 steps that's going to help you understand how to get through this worst time with every individual. And let's start loving on people, because we need that nowadays, right? Well, that brings me to my first point. Let's go into Colossians chapter 3, verse 12 through 14. And I want to read this off my screen. And here we go. Put on then as God's chosen ones, and those are the Jews, by the way, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, meekness, and patient. I talk about that all the time in my video. Now, I will post links down below or above here. Check it out about being patient now, right? All right. Verse 13. Bearing with one another. So we got to start living and bearing with each other. What are you saying? Bearing with each other. I don't have to deal with them. Well, if you're dealing with them every single day, you need to start bearing with these people. That's what it says in bearing with one another. If one has complaint against you, then the other one needs to forgive. I know it sounds crazy, right? But it's the truth. This comes from the Bible. I'm not making this stuff up. Now, as the Lord forgave you, you also must forgive. You know, so what do we do? We need to pray for your own heart, because your heart needs to position to love them at their worst. If your heart is not positioned, then you want to ask God to position your heart so that way you can pray and you have this kind and meekness and understand the situation. Look, I'm not going to fabricate this stuff because, I'm learning this as I go, and I discover these things. When you pray, believe it or not, it changes every aspect of your life. Now, what then you have to do? Well, that brings me to my second point. Pray for them, because we don't know what kind of situation they have in life, right? They're going through so many struggles in their life, and let's say that they're family member. We just have to love them on their worst, because they may be going through things that we don't know what they're going through, and yet we need to be there to love on them. Now, I'm speaking as Christ followers who are joining on this channel right now. And I'll give you an opportunity later to make a difference in your life. All right. So what do? Pray for them. Okay. And that means we're going to look in Philippians chapter 1, verse 9 through 11. I'm going to read this really quick with you. And that is, and it is my prayer that you love may abound more and more with knowledge and discernment. Okay. Now, verse 10 talks about, so you may approve and excellent and be pure and blameless for the day of Christ. Verse 11, filled with fruit and righteousness that comes from Jesus Christ. So the Bible talks about if you live right and if you are uh, bearing fruit and you show your kindness to people and understand that you got to pray for them, then that's what it is. You need to pray for them. That's as simple as it can be. All right. Point number 3, and that is we need to move towards them and not, push away from these guys, right? So we need to move towards them and not be away from them. And that means we tend to try to get away from the people that we have relationships with people, and it gets kind of crazy sometimes. Although the tendency is there to help and just kind of bypass these things that are happening in your life, right? So let's just work on moving towards them and not be far from them, because it's going to help you as an individual to help them at their worst time. Love on them because they're going through a lot of things. Have coffee with them, take them to dinner, find out what they need to unwind or share with you, so you can be a good help to them. Saying, Isaac, this is so hard and difficult. Hey, listen, I'm with you on this, okay? It's a challenge every single time I'm dealing with people at their worst. Now, I sometimes want to say, you know what? I don't want nothing to do with that, But if this person is in my life and is family member especially, then we need to find specific ways to bless and encourage them. That's right. We need to bless and encourage them. How do we do that? By showing our love for them, that God lives in us, so we may share that love with them, right? Yeah, I know. I am boggled the same way. So it's hard. It's nothing, that everyone can go through. All right. Because it takes time. All right. Now, point number 5 talks about give them grace, just as God extends the grace upon you, right? Let's look at Colossians chapter 3, verse 13. What does it say? Okay, I'm going to read it to you real quick here. Bearing with one another. That's what I said earlier. And if you have a complaint against one another, forgive them. That's where we have a problem. Look, we hold these grudges, Let's move on, because it's eating us up. Our health is eating us up mentally. It's driving us nuts here, right? So let's look at the perspective of what God says in His Word. So after we forgive one another, as the Lord has forgiven you, that's right. Even though in your worst time in your life, God has forgiven you for all, for everything. So you must forgive. That's what the Bible says. You must forgive. That's right. Just do it. It's going to happen. At your worst, you want people to do the same thing with you, then you need to do the same thing. And believe me, when you have a closer relationship with God, it's going to be a lot easier to run through these things. I know. I mean, it's going to be like, sometimes it can be a piece of work out there. Okay, I'm not gonna say it's not easy, but it's gonna take work. But you gotta be the one who changes inside to make this happen, even when the worst happens to others. Right? All right. Point number 6. Realize that you could not be in a difficult place. Just realize that you haven't. If you've been in a difficult time of your life, right? It's only obvious. You want the same attention that's going to help you in the long run. So let's start loving on people. Let's start understanding, hey, they're down on their luck sometimes. But let me make a disclaimer. If they're at their worst and they don't want to change, okay? Let's make this clear. If they don't want to change, then what you do is slowly back off and guide them from afar. Okay? So it happens and people don't want to change, and that's how it is sometimes. Okay, so anyhow, there you have it. Thanks for watching Motivation Inspired. I'm hoping that you make some comments on this video, because I really want to hear from you. I want you to subscribe. I want you to share this important message for someone who can hear this message today. I want you to say, yes, I'm going to follow and subscribe to your channel, and I'm going to share your content. We'll see you on the next video.